Hello, this is John Miller, the creator of The Rest of Everest. I think I can safely say that this show is, without a doubt, the most in-depth look into the entire experience of what it takes to climb Everest, as well as some other peaks throughout the Himalayas. But all of the events in this series are shown in chronological order, so if you're new to the show, please go all the way back to episode 000 and watch everything in order. That's truly the best way to enjoy it. Thanks.
This is the Rest of Everest video podcast, an almost unabridged expedition experience. Episode 168, the Kangshung Face.
Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Rest of Everest. I'm John Miller. Today is going to be the big day, the big episode where we finally see Everest from the trek. And it's very, very exciting. Joining me on this week's episode is Roger, Jill, Tilo, Monica, and Christine. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Doing good.
Great, guys. Thanks.
It's good to see all of you. And
this episode, human sacrifice.
So obviously we're trekking towards the Kangshung Face, but we just haven't been able to see it. And so we've been trekking for several days, obviously sightseeing for a long time. So we finally got to see the Kangshung Face on this episode. So let's head back up to the Tibetan Plateau and let's get going towards seeing the Kangshung Face. So here we go. We have spent the night at that glorious campsite. Obviously you saw some of the cooking and preparations for breakfast. I have my cough already. But I see a group of people up ahead of us that are all kind of looking in exactly the same direction. So what I'm guessing is that they're looking at some high peaks. Now, we've been told, I think as Jeff said yesterday, that it's Chomolungma, but I was not able to see the summit. So until I can see the summit, I won't totally know until I can see the features of the Northeast Ridge. But everyone's staring around pretty intently, so let's see what we've got here. I'll walk the rest of the way with you. So here we go. Yeah, I kept looking for the Northeast Ridge, which I'd only seen from the other side, obviously. But it has a very specific shape because you have the first, second, and third steps that we talk about at great length in season 1 of the show. And so I kept wanting to see those from the back side. I just hadn't been able to see them. So this is, you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the ridge that we hiked up right out of the campsite.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So cool how much the landscape had changed in just a day of hiking. So nice being up above the valleys.
Yeah, this was a great hike.
First day that even though I was one of the slowest, I actually managed to keep you guys in sight for most of the day.
Nice.
Anything special to see? Should we turn around?
Yes.
Go home?
Yes.
This is boring, John. Thanks a lot.
Yeah? Okay, all makes sense now. The only thing that would make this better is if we were watching it on TV right now. Yep, there she is.
Yep.
We're asking how many people have climbed it from this side. Do you know?
A fraction of a fraction of a fraction from the combination of both sides, north and south.
Yeah, most of the people who see the Kangshung Face actually see it from the summit. And probably more people have seen it from the summit. Looking down it.
Beautiful Disneyland in the background.
I remember this day of hiking in particular because I felt really small in comparison to everything that was around me. I mean, we went through a couple of valleys where the landscape was pretty desolate, but it was almost to me like being in a cathedral because of the way the mountains were just rising up to each side of us.
Yeah, it's pretty dramatic. I agree with you there.
How many people do you see around here?
I see no one.
I should ask you that question once we're on the north side. And you see how many people there are.
Is this the only way to base camp, east side?
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's no road.
Well, not very crowded.
More yaks than people.
Actually, over there are some yaks.
Oh, my shadow's in the way. Damn it.
This was such a great view after all the hiking.
Big one? Yeah.
You can see me just over Chris's shoulder hiking up.
There you are.
Welcome to your second side of Everest. Or your view of the second side of Everest.
I can't believe that, John, you and I and Monica, I guess we'll be the first and only podcasters in the world who have seen Mount Everest from all three sides. Like real.
We might be the only podcasters in the world who care about seeing Everest from all three sides.
But just the thought of that. Monica, did you hear that? I think we're pretty unique. I love to be unique.
It was all done for marketing purposes.
Right, there was no real reason to do it other than to be able to say all three sides. So, my understanding is we will walk to the Everest East Side Base Camp. Do we expect anyone there apart from us? Will the East Side Base Camp be empty? No climbers? Only us? Hey! We'll have an entire base camp for ourselves. How does that sound?
Unreal.
Totally unreal.
Especially 3 days later, you'll see Northside Base Camp. And it will be a circus.
I mean, 3 sides of Everest in 2 years. The only thing
in less than one.
In less than 1 year. The only thing that stays, the only thing that remains to be done is to summit Everest.
No. You're on your own with that one, buddy.
No, I'm not going to do that.
I used to kind of want to do that,
oxygen,
but
this is water.
I'm cured.
Yeah. Exactly.
I've seen the 3 base camps. I am really happy and lucky.
3 sides in 2 years.
2 years for you, less than 1 year for us.
Yeah. Oh, we haven't been to the south side yet, or the north side yet.
Yeah, we haven't been there. Don't jinx
High
it.
five. All right.
That'll be the easy part.
Okay?
We can sit back and nap the whole way if we want.
Knock on wood. Wait, there's a bit of wood. Okay. Didn't jinx it. Okay. It's down from here, right? This is.
Yeah, we were the last.
Yeah. Okay.
So what's the path? What's the trail? Down there, and around and up.
Yeah. And up again. And then
And up
to
and
there.
up.
Yeah. This behind this night camp.
But the campsite tonight is behind that.
It's flat.
Bridge.
Yeah, totally.
Right behind it or far behind it?
Only a little bit up and down.
Not far. Not far.
No problem. 10 minutes.
You gotta be careful what you ask these guys.
So don't ask him.
They get answers. And only ask someone who actually knows.
Ask a yak.
Their answer.
I'm not sure if it's clear, but there are only like Jimmy who knows the way and the Yakman. And speaking English with the Yakman is impossible. So you're the only connection to our world, basically. So let's take good care of you. We can't lose you. We have to make sure you stay with us, otherwise we're lost.
I need a bed.
What? What did you say?
No kind of translation that I'm doing. Really? Yeah.
Okay.
I remember watching your podcast from podcast number 1 for the first time, and I never dreamed that I'd be doing this.
Yeah, actually, I know Jill. I knew Jill before coming on this trip, but she emailed me saying she had discovered the podcast and was about to embark on a trek to the Southside Base Camp. Was that in 2007?
I think it was 8, John, if I'm not mistaken. And you came to Vegas, we met, and you let me use your sat phone, and I did a little podcast. And yeah, I mean, and if you would have asked me then if I'd ever be on a trek with you in the future to the other side, I never would have dreamed it would be possible. And it was. And there I was. It's like a gift.
It's just always amazing how things work out.
It is.
The strange paths that our lives take us on.
I know.
No more
exactly the way it's supposed to work out, I think.
What are you going to say, Christine?
Well, my connection to you is pretty bizarre. The reason why I started watching the podcast is because I was actually in the initial diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis, and I was looking. I couldn't get out of bed some days, and so I started looking for things on Tibet, and stumbled onto the podcast. So for me, at that point, it didn't feel like any sort of a possibility in my future that I would do what I did.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And it changed my life in so many subtle but really fundamental ways. Even on the bad days, I still have pain. I still live with this stupid disease that sometimes I have no control over. But I do go back to my experience of, I did something that very few people in the world will ever do. And that's what gets me through some of the really bad days. But the other thing that I kept saying to myself when things got hard on the trek was, I made it through writing my undergrad thesis. If I can do that, I can do this. And now I have both of those accomplishments to sort of bookend parts of my life.
I was going to say, luckily you weren't doing it at the same time. Writing your thesis while trekking.
In a weird way, they're related, because what drew me to this topic of my thesis is a psychological treatment that I won't go into it, but it's called mindfulness-based meditation, and it incorporates aspects of, in a non-sectarian way, Buddhist meditation, and in helping to treat patients with chronic illness. And I drew on the fact that I'm a practicing Buddhist, and I drew on the fact that I'm studying to be a psychologist to bring that together. And all of that really led me toward Tibet in a big way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I see those direct steps.
I think this podcast has made a lot of people's dreams come true.
Thanks for that. Yeah,
Really has.
One of the things I'm most proud of is that so many, probably about a dozen now, audience members. I've helped them to make trips out on their own. Not counting the people who have gone out with me necessarily, but people who've gone out on their own. So that's been really great.
Yeah, aloo paratha.
I'm telling
cheese paratha,
him, they've got like aloo parathas and cheese parathas. I said, you're giving us cookies. He's like, you're lucky. The other trek, we gave them worse food.
I did one on my own, and if I wouldn't have seen this podcast, I never would have known it was possible to do that kind of thing.
The question is, which way will the yaks go? Right through.
Because this podcast really does show you from a very personal view how to do this, whereas other ones might be more just, I don't know, based on the scenery or something like that. This really shows you the personal side, and I think that's what it makes it unique and the best.
And I think this also shows that
this is not looking good.
You don't have to be a world-class athlete. It doesn't have to be about summiting. And that's, Ben said that a lot in season 1. And I think that just held through for a very fundamental part of what the podcast is all about. I mean, we are all, in our daily lives, we're all special and unique, but, I'm no world-class athlete.
What?
You can be just some, in your own thinking, and just an ordinary person and go to one of the most extraordinary places in the world and survive and thrive and come back with an unforgettable experience. You know.
He's there to bring people into danger, right?
Yeah, thanks, Pemba.
Welcome, sir.
Yeah. Yak man here. John, move.
John, I created you with the better spot than I.
Oh, you wanted the better photos? I'm sure you'll have plenty of more opportunities.
Désolé. The next round of yaks is approaching. Actually, they're not yaks, they're jukus. They're a hybrid between yak and cow. And here's more coming.
Yeah, the full-blooded yaks have a lot more hair and have a slightly different shape. I actually saw the head of one earlier in this episode, and
I have a yak protection device
they look
here.
different. You can tell.
Protects me from yaks.
The real yaks from these yaks. They're more majestic looking. Look at that landscape. Just amazing.
I think I'm gonna go over there.
Oh, there are more.
Yeah, we had a small army of yaks and yak herders, didn't we?
We did.
And the sound of yak bells still brings a smile to my face.
At least they're consistent.
I think this kind of episode is pretty indicative of my philosophy, is that we showed Everest for just a few minutes and then the rest of the episode showing yaks. We'll obviously see more of Everest in this season, but the yaks were a little bit more personal.
John, what just happened there?
I got bit disheveled when the yaks came up here the last time. I had to grab everything. And I realized that I dropped the spare battery to the sat phone. Fell out of my pocket. And I just noticed my gloves.
Well, then you better get out of harm's way, because here they come. Here they come.
And I fell. Yeah, they made the arrow.
Wow. Cheese paratha. Alright, potato. Bread, Sherpa, pack lunch.
Sometimes their lunches look better than ours.
I'm just watching, you know?
And potato.
I'm just watching.
Just watch. It's good.
I'm just watching.
हेलो थोड़ा कच्चा हो गया ना आपको कैसे लगेगा यार
नहीं हम बनाते ऐसे बनाते हैं लेकिन अच्छे नहीं लग रहे आलू
अच्छा तो अच्छा है यार रोटी लेके
ये भी नहीं को हमारे पेट गड़बड़ हो जाएगा तो आप है ना
You know, I wonder if some of the days when Sonam and I didn't catch up to you guys for lunch, wonder if he had to go hungry during lunch. And if that's true, I feel really bad about that.
No, he probably had something with him.
You didn't feed him?
There was at least one day where I don't think he and I stopped for lunch.
You know, now that I'm thinking about it, almost everyone on this episode has been to all sides of Everest. Roger, you were there in the 80s, right? Didn't you go to the south side?
I trekked to Fairjay the hard way.
What's the hard way?
That means not flying in.
That's right, you didn't fly to Lukla. You hiked to Lukla. It's about a week approach to Lukla, isn't it?
Yeah, 5 or 6 days. But low altitude and beautiful country.
Look. Camera Sherpa Bemba. My camera's smaller.
So we're on this Everest trek, and we decided the cold was a little bit too much. So we thought we'd just come to this beach, just have a nice good time. And then, what do you know, we're actually still on the trek. But these things happen. But never in my life have I seen such a nice beach. With Everest right there.
Do you guys remember this sand?
Yes.
Yes. And that was the only time we saw Earth that was that consistency, just in that one little pocket.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of it, too. You can tell it's getting later in the day because the clouds are moving in. When you're actually there, the landscape is far larger than it looks here. I'm looking here and I'm thinking, wow, that looks incredible, looks huge, but it's just overwhelming when you're there. And all of our Sherpa staff, this was their first time here as well.
Oh, thank you.
And this is just such an amazing
Thank you.
view. I know that watching the podcast can't convey it, but you know, we could see an area where a glacier had totally receded, and you know, for me that was a very powerful view, because I know how far some of the glaciers in Tibet have receded. You know, I think if a lot more people on Earth could see that, the whole global warming issue would really come home to them.
Mm-hmm.
The whole concept of a mountain really moving, that's pretty big.
Okay, so Roger, what are you thinking about this place right now?
Well, it's the best view of Everest we've had so far, and we can see way down into the canyons where all the water and debris come from the high mountains. We can hear the sounds of the water and the wind, and there are some great stones piles here, which shows us that it's a holy place too.
When we came over this ridge here, you were talking about erosion.
Yeah.
Why'd you say that? Why'd you say the word erosion?
This canyon coming from these high mountains is really raw and open. It's not old growth trees or anything. It's new rocks and new dirt, and that often makes it very difficult to travel.
It's the earth opened up for all to see.
Wide open, big scale, and no machinery involved. It's all natural. Like what? Stop rolling. Could be. I rolled one about 2 meters. That's it. Stuff rolling? That might be wind, avalanches, river.
Sounded like an avalanche.
A lot of bushes. Possibly,
Tilo, what were you thinking about? It had been less than a year since you'd been on the south side at this point. What were you thinking about when you saw that nice view of Everest?
It was nice. It was the thing was you are on one side it's a hard trek, and on the other side it's you are getting something done.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when you're normally doing your office job, and then having such challenges, that's a different feeling. And especially with that trekking, I now understand why people still want to go to Everest on the top, even if I never will do that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really understandable.
On this side, there are obviously no villages and tea houses and electricity. It's really like Everest unplugged.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're 4510.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised. I had no idea there would be nothing like on the south side in Nepal. I was pleasantly surprised. We're probably just a small group of a handful who's ever even walked on these paths, except for the yak people.
And the landscape just keeps going and going. That's Everest on the right there in the clouds.
And there's our camp for the night. The yaks made it.
Another beautiful campsite.
I have to say, this was my favorite campsite.
What about it?
It was just one of the most beautiful places I have ever been. We were below the tree line, and so there was a little bit more foliage and grass, and it was just majestic. But in a weird kind of way, kind of intimate, because there was just this small, very level ground that was split by a beautiful stream, and it was just my favorite.
Hey, Pasang sir, how are you doing?
Fine.
It's Pemba filming.
Yes.
Yeah, it really was some nice flat ground and grassy. It was quite comfortable to sleep on. But this was one of the most beautiful campsites, but it was also one of the most dangerous.
Oh yes, yes.
And it's just those kind of things that you don't think about. You think, how is it dangerous? Well,
how was it dangerous?
Well, we're coming up to the danger. You see,
yeah.
all the cooking tents and everything were set up on one side of this little stream.
Exactly.
And our tents were set up on the other side of the stream. So you had to cross the stream, which was, only about a meter wide, but every time you had to go to your tent, you got your boots wet. And then when you got into your tent, you took your boots off, you handled the wet boots, and I think a number of us got giardia, I think, from...
I did.
Yeah, from the water. And it was simply the act of taking your boots off. That was the problem. So these are the things that, always have to be in the back of your head when you're traveling in these. Like, look how small that stream is. It's just, and there lots of rocks to hop on to get across, but just a little bit of water splashing on your boots, and then handling those wet boots, and then eating without washing our hands properly. That's all it took. So, but
and it didn't help to jump over the creek.
Yeah.
Well, Monica, you're so tall you probably could jump over parts of
Yes, I did several times.
Yeah.
Most of the time it worked.
Most of the time.
It's very funny that such a little stream compared to the, major climbing that we did could really wreak havoc.
Yeah.
But it did.
But so next week we're going to deal a lot more with not this particular stream, but the one just a little bit further across from our campsite. There was a bridge that needed to be rebuilt, so we're going to build the bridge next week. So thanks a lot, guys, for coming along, and look forward to catching up with you next week.
Cool.
Bye.
All right, bye, guys.
Thanks, John.
Bye-bye.
The Rest of Everest is downloaded all over the world every day, and watching the show has become a part of many people's weekly routine. The show will always be free to download, but it's by no means free to produce.
please help me cover my costs by making a small monthly or one-time donation from the right sidebar on my website, and in return I'll give you some cool bonus materials. A donation of any amount will grant you access to some interesting video content, including high-definition versions of several podcast episodes. A one-time donation of $25 or more, or any of the monthly donation options, will additionally grant you access to a downloadable version of the film Everest the Other Side, which episodes 1 to 61 are based on. I really cannot express how vital these donations are, and if you've made a donation, thank you so much. As always, our announcer is Marlon May, and our music is provided by Wendy Wu. Check her out at wendywoo.com. Thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for watching The Rest of Everest. For more information on the expedition, please visit therestofeverest.com.